Hello and welcome to the Mysteries of Pandaria set review. Today we're going to be taking a look at Paladin. Paladin will be receiving some training from the Mistweaver monks, as well as a visit from the Force Sprites. Both bend the rules in different ways, as the Mistweaver monks teach the Paladins their way of healing. The Paladins also have to deal with the mischievous Sprites as they pop up around the Wandering Isle, tormenting the honest Paladin. And during their journey, they'll make use of this set's new keyword, that keyword being channel. Channel is an end-of-turn effect that does something if you have a certain amount of unspent mana available. We've seen it give immune to Death Knight as well as a simple +1/+1 to your minions on board. But without further ado, let's go ahead and move into our first card of the set. That card being Shun Gentlepaw Mistbender. Shun Gentlepaw Mistbender is a 6-mana, 6/6 legendary minion with Channel 1. Each of your minions, wherever they are, steals 1 health from an opponent's minion wherever they are. And this first takes and gives health to both the board, the hand, and then the deck. If there's not enough minions in your opponent's deck, then there will be some minions in your deck that won't get healed up. If you have more minions than they do, fortunately you're not going to make full effect. However, every single one of their minions will lose 1 health wherever they are. If Shun somehow stays alive for several turns, this could just delete all the minions in your opponent's deck. 3 or 4 health is a pretty considerable amount for anything that's not big or control variants. Overall, I think Shun could be a pretty powerful option for a Highlander Paladin deck, or if Gear sticks around. But regardless, up next we have one of Shun's disciples, the Mistweaver Trainer. The Mistweaver Trainer is a 6-mana 3/3 minion with Battlecry. Set all enemy minions' health to 1. Restore health to your hero equal to the amount lost. So this kinda goes hand in hand with Shun's style of healing as you continue to set your opponent's health lower and lower, and making it easier to eliminate the target. This kind of reminds me of Caladan the Breaker, but not nearly as strong, as Caladan at least destroyed the board. But this also isn't conditional like Caladan, so give and take. But it is an interesting style of healing for sure. Up next we have the Mistweaver Healer. The Mistweaver Healer is a 4-mana 3/5 minion with Battlecry. Set a minion's health to 1. Give another minion health equal to the amount taken. This feels kind of similar to Chaotic Consumption from Warlock, or maybe like Death Knight's The Primus. The only difference being, of course, that this minion won't kill the enemy's minion. It'll only heal or steal from them. It doesn't necessarily say friendly or enemy minions, so maybe there's some flexibility there, but who knows. Paladins aren't going to have it as easy though as they venture out into the wilds of Pandaria, as the local sprites spring up, spawning suddenly spells of a specific school, and what that means for you is that each of them will spawn a random spell in your hand from a specific school, as well as a 0-copy silenced version of themselves. So while each of them are technically understated, know that they come with a copy of themselves, as well as a random spell. So for example, the Ashleaf Sprite would provide you with a fire spell, and a 3/2 silenced copy of itself. And the Ricketon Sprite provides you with a nature spell and a 0-mana 2/4 silenced version of itself. I don't know if this technically counts as the first time a nature spell makes it into Paladin, but technically, Paladin nature spell? But the concept for the individual sprites is pretty straightforward. Up next we have the Darkwood Sprite, which will add a random shadow spell to your hand, and a silenced 3/4 copy of the Darkwood Sprite. Same concept as before. I don't think there's really been a shadow spell other than Oh My Yogg, so hey, more shadow spells in Paladin sounds like a fun time. Now granted, the next 4 cards are going to come from the neutral set like a mage, but they do provide benefits to other classes outside of Paladin a little bit more than they do to Paladin. And up first we'll have the Greenwood Sprite. The Greenwood Sprite is going to provide you with a fire spell as well as a 0 mana 3/2 copy of itself, silenced of course. The neutral sprites aren't going to provide you too much support to the mage's rainbow archetype. And while the Greenwood sprites are providing fire magic, the Thistleleaf sprites are going to be providing fell magic. The Thistleleaf sprite is a 4 mana 4/1 minion with Battle Cry. Add a random fell spell to your hand and a silenced copy of this minion that costs 0. What a peculiar body. It does provide an option for fell spells, but I don't know if that 4 mana cost is worth it. But I think I understand why when you see the legendary card associated with sprites coming up soon. So real quickly, we'll get into the Shadow Fae sprite. The Shadow Fae sprite is a 3 mana 2/2 minion with Battle Cry. Add a random frost spell to your hand and a silenced copy of this minion that costs 0. So frost spells do provide a little bit of survivability options, but also it does have removal. Sorry for stating the obvious, but they're random spells. There's not much to say about that. But our last one is going to be for holy spells, and it is the Amberleaf Sprite. The Amberleaf Sprite is a 2 mana 1/3 minion with Battle Cry. Add a random holy spell to your hand and a silenced copy of this minion that costs 0. So this is probably the most average statted minion offered for the sprite package. Now granted, I think that this does potentially offer some play in other classes, especially since this will be the first set after rotation. But I teased you just a moment ago with a legendary card, and that card is Unite the Sprites. Unite the Sprites is a 10 mana nature spell with fill your hand and board with random sprites. They have rush and cost 0 this turn. So now all the sprites have hit the board, they're rushing at enemies, you've got more in hand, ready to go, ready to generate spells. Who knows what you're gonna spawn and play with this hand. This feels like an incredibly good pairing with Badlands Bandits or the Crusader Aurora. But overall a good card. Up next we have Sprite Uprising. Sprite Uprising is a 6 mana epic card spell for Paladin that reads resurrect all friendly sprites that died this game, give them rush. This feels like a more aggressive but very specific version of Unending Swarm. And while I've found a few uses for Unending Swarm in different applications, I don't know if the sprites are necessarily strong enough on their own. Now granted, they do have a lot of fun potential, and Hearthstone is a game about fun, but overall a fun card for a fun archetype. Up next we have the Golden Cloud Serpent. The Golden Cloud Serpent is a 5 mana 5/3 dragon with Divine Shield and Death Rattle. Summon a 1/1 Golden Serpent Hatchling with Divine Shield. And the Golden Serpent Hatchling is a 1 mana 1/1 Divine Shield dragon with, at the end of your opponent's turn, transform into a Golden Cloud Serpent. So far of the serpents, this is probably the most difficult to remove just because they have to hit it twice. And also, quite possibly, the most powerful of the serpents introduced. Not to mention, Paladin usually has some sort of synergies to go with either dragons or with divine shields. And now we come around to our last card for Paladin. That card is going to be White Scallions. White Scallions is a 1 mana, 1 durability location with equip a 0/1 weapon. Randomly upgrades each turn. So you literally get to grow the perfect weapon every turn. This will get better and better, whether that's the attack or durability. Whenever you decide to harvest your scallions, you're going to be scary. Now granted, in this expansion there will be a lot of options to deal with locations, and there's always a way to deal with weapons. So you don't want to necessarily get too greedy growing your weapon. But that is going to be the end of the Paladin review for the Mysteries of Pandaria set. Please let me know what you thought about the cards revealed today. I think a lot of them were very interesting, and at first look the sprites seem like they're a weak option, but I think once you realize that you're going to get double the stats and double the bodies, and you pair that with all the things that Paladin's already wanting to do, I think this turns into a pretty potent package that your opponent's going to have to find a way to remove your board turn after turn after turn, which is daunting when you look at like Crusaders or facing you down. But please, if you got any thoughts or ideas on the video, on the cards, on what I should do after I finish this set, please let me know down in the comments. I look forward to reading them and interacting with you guys. I want to build an interactive community with you. And in our next video, we'll be reviewing Priest and their cards. In the Priest class, we'll be revisiting the Shaws, as well as meeting the Jin Yu. So I hope to see you soon. Take care.